Check one, two. Check. All right, I want to thank everyone for your patience. We're going to take a second to get seated, and then we'll start the Housing Authority meeting.
Check 1 2. Check 1 2.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and again thank everyone for their patience and call to order the regular meeting of the Vallejo Housing Authority. And I'm going to ask the city clerk to please call the roll call.
Chair Sorts.
Present.
Vice Chair Bergenzer.
Present.
Board Members Gordon.
Present.
Ledeju.
Present.
Matias.
Present.
Machulek.
Present.
Palmaris.
Present.
All right, thank you. We have one consent calendar item, which is our approval of minutes. Do any members of the council wish to remove an item from the consent calendar? What's up? I'm not seeing any members of the public that had comments on the consent calendar, which is just the minutes and agenda. And seeing none, do we have a motion to approve?
Yes, I motion to approve the consent calendar and approval of the agenda.
All right, and I believe we have to do a voice vote, so we'll go ahead and do the roll call vote.
Chair Sorts.
Yes.
Vice Chair Bergenzer.
Yes.
Board Members Ledeju.
Yes.
Gordon.
Yes.
Matias.
Yes.
Machulek.
Aye.
And Palmaris.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right, thank you. And that brings us to our action calendar. Secretary Abramson, would you please announce item 4A for us?
Conduct a public hearing and adopt a resolution approving the Vallejo Housing Authority's 5-year public housing agency plan for fiscal year 25 through 29 for the period covering July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2029, and authorize the executive director to submit to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, Office of Public and Indian Housing.
Thank you. And I'm ask Manny to go ahead and start open our public comment online. Anyone wishing to address the council on this item, please raise your hand online. Please note that this is for our action item on the Vallejo Housing Authority calendar. We're running a bit behind. So if you would like to speak in community forum at our council meeting, hold off just a minute and then we will start that meeting. And then anyone in person, you can sign up at the kiosk or flag us. And we'll have a presentation from, I believe, our housing director, Ms. Jones. Go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you, Board. Alicia Jones, Housing Director for the Housing and Community Development Department in the Housing Authority. Before I start my presentation, I would like to point to your staff report and the subject line and throughout the document. One technical error for the period covering would be from July 1st, 2025 through June 30th of 2030. That would be the 5-year period. Thank you. Next slide. So today I'm here to present the 5-year annual, the 5-year PHA plan, which is a plan that actually outlines the goals and objectives for the Housing Authority for the next 5 years. And the particular plan correlates similar to the consolidated plans with the activities and goals that are identified. We kind of tie them into our consolidated plan as well. To meet the needs of the community. Also, it explains any new activities that's been undertaken by the Housing Authority. The plan identifies our progress report based on our previous 5-year plan, and also provides an analysis of annual basis. Each year after every 5 year, we have to do an annual plan for subsequent years. And it also informs HUD and the residents of the Vallejo Housing Authority participants of our mission in serving low-income households. Next slide, please. The Housing Authority mission is to provide, over the next 5 years, is to provide quality housing in high-resource neighborhoods as a foundation to create access to opportunities and make a positive change in the lives of low-income and very low-income and extremely low-income families, seniors, and people with special needs. We plan to introduce effective social service programs and guide residents to educational, job training, and employment opportunities, aiming to increase their success outside of the HCV or Housing Choice Voucher Program. Next slide. So this particular slide just outlines 4 of our goals, but within your packet, the actual annual 5-year plan has a full list of the goals that we have identified for the upcoming years. So over the next 5 years, we anticipate to increase our special purpose vouchers to help mitigate homelessness by applying for mainstream and stability housing vouchers, and also the non-elderly disabled vouchers. These are all special purpose vouchers to assist those that are homeless or at risk of being homeless. Our second item would be maintaining our payment standards. We currently have our payment standards at 20% of the FMRs, which is the fair market rents. We would work to maintain that to ensure that our participants are able to compete in the market with other units that are not participating under the program. And we anticipate to increase our FSS enrollment, which is designed to help families who are interested in home ownership. Our goals are such as obtaining their GED or higher education degrees. Also, any goals that they may have, that's what the Family Self-Sufficiency Program is designed to assist and encourage. So we anticipate to increase our enrollment to a higher rate. We're currently at 33 participants on the program, and we anticipate to increase that by at least another 20 over the next 5 years. Also, one of our goals is to reestablish our home ownership program, which is a program designed to help voucher holders who actually have a voucher qualify for home ownership using the voucher as a source of income to qualify. Next slide. Currently, I would like to talk about our progress report. Currently, the Housing Authority has 2,358 vouchers, and we have an additional 81 under our VASH program. Our VASH program is our Veterans Administration Supportive Housing Program, where we collaborate with the VA to serve those individuals that are vets and are possibly homeless. During the fiscal year 23 through July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024, the Housing Authority opened the waiting list for the first time since 2015. We received a total of 10,000 applications, and from that application interest list, we selected 2,500 families onto the actual waiting list. So currently, we have approximately 1,900 families on the waiting list for a voucher. Each month, we select families to determine eligibility. Between this particular fiscal year of July 1st, 23 through June 30th, 24, between the two waiting lists, we were able to successfully issue vouchers, and of those vouchers that we issued, 129 families was able to successfully lease a unit in Vallejo. We also project-based some of our vouchers. A total of 130 units have been project-based. Sonoma Estates has been awarded 97 units for project-based for a project that they anticipate to bring online, and then Sereno Village received 31 project-based in HAP execution. I'm proud to say will be effective April 1st of 2025 for those particular units. Vallejo Housing Collaborative, they also have 2 units. We call them set-aside units. We call them scattered sites. In those particular 2 units, one is a duplex and one is a single-family house. So those particular units are specifically to serve those that are homeless or have been homeless and need permanent supportive housing. And also, I would like to go back to Sereno Village. Sereno Village also will provide permanent supportive housing for the project-based vouchers for those 31 units. Next slide. So VAWA, which is Victims Against Women's Act, which also includes others. It's not just women. We will ensure that our policies and our administrative plan serves the community and those that are experiencing VAWA. We have recently updated our policies with the new certifications that HUD requires in order to assist those families that are victims of VAWA. Next slide. So in our 5-year PHA plan, there's a category where we have to define what a significant amendment means to the Housing Authority. And currently, we identified that a significant amendment, which means that if we need to make a change to a policy, selection and an admission policy would be the one we would come to you to ask for approval to make changes. For an example, the Housing Authority updated the administrative plan recently for a project-based program for our selection of waiting lists, and the policy was updated to allow set-aside units in projects through the Continuum of Care program and the Coordinated Entry program to set aside units specifically for a group. For example, with Blue Oak Landing, those individuals set aside units, which are 23, receive services through No Place Like Home, and they work directly with Resource Connect for the referral process to house only families from Continuum of Care in those 23 units. Next slide. On February 24th, 2025, the Housing Authority staff met with a group of resident advisory members. And during the meeting, there was discussion, but there was no comments made directly pertaining to the PHA plan. But there were discussions, but it wasn't related to the plan, so those comments was not added in the plan. Next slide. Excuse me. The Housing Authority will ensure to affirmatively further fair housing by decreasing barriers and increasing access to affordable housing through expansion of our project-based program and our Housing Choice Voucher program and our FSS program. We'll continue to partner with our with Fair Housing Advocates of Northern California, which we call FANCY, to help with housing search and any type of discrimination. Next slide. Excuse me. That concludes my presentation, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. So what I'm going to do is I will go ahead and open up the public hearing, and why don't we take any questions from council members first, and then we'll see if we have public commenters, and we'll go from there. Do any of my colleagues have questions that we want to ask before we start with public comment? Councilmember Palmares, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Who runs the FSS? Who runs it?
Who runs it? The Housing Authority.
Oh, okay.
It
How
falls
many
under my
people?
category.
Is it a different set of employees, or is it just the same employees? Just that you got a different program they have to run?
So the FSS program is a grant-funded program, and we have a housing specialist that's designated to oversee the FSS program, and that particular employee is paid, they're paid out of the grant because they only can work on FSS. They cannot work on anything except for FSS participants' files.
That's a lot for one employee.
Well, actually,
Seems
HUD
like
has a little analysis on the breakdown of what qualifies the ratio, and so it's actually for every 25 families, one coordinator. So when I started, we were down, I believe we had 8 families on the FSS program, and so we increased participation to 33 currently, and so the plan would be to request for additional funding to fund another position for FSS.
I see. So what do you see as the biggest challenge to getting enrollment into the FSS?
The biggest challenge? In all honesty, we actually didn't have any challenge getting enrollment. We actually had a very good success rate of families wishing to participate because we offer outreach, we offer job training, interview skills, we provide them resources in the community that can help them align with the goals that they have, and we've been very successful, so I can't say it's been challenging. One of the things I would like to see would be more families wish or desire to become homeowners, but it's not one of the things they're interested in. It's more of jobs. They want jobs, or some of them want to go and get their GED. So those are some of the goals.
So when it comes to jobs or just social mobility in general, do you partner with workforce development or other CBOs out there?
Well, what we do is we don't have a direct partnership by MOU or anything like that. We just kind of have their contact information. We meet with them to see what services they have available, and we kind of keep a tally of those services, and we kind of work with our participants to point them in a direction and guide them, and also support them through that process as they're building their skills or as they're applying for jobs, how to develop a resume, how to interview techniques and things like that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Great, thanks. I've got Councilmember Matias and then Letiju. It shows up on my screen in order. Don't worry.
So my question's a quick one, and I asked you this 3 months ago. How is the, can you just share a brief status update on the home ownership program?
The homeownership is identified as a goal for us to reestablish the homeownership program, we have, in order to do, that's why it's in the 5-year plan, because we have to plan accordingly and have staffing available to manage that particular program. So it's one of our goals, and we're at the beginning phase, once the plan is approved, to start seeing what we can do. If it's not this year, at what point can we do it within the 5 years?
What would need to sort of be in place, in your opinion, to make that happen? Like, or is it just is it a staffing and resourcing? Is it just resourcing? Is it both?
It's both.
Okay.
It's both. We need staff in order to man that particular program and encourage homeownership, because it comes with another piece. It comes with the housing counseling. It comes with the understanding how to budget. What does homeownership look like? Because it's not like the voucher program. You're responsible for your utilities, your maintenance of your home. The voucher is just a piece that we pay. Our HAP portion, which is our housing assistance portion, we pay that to the homeowner or to the bank directly, but it's based on your income. It's still calculated that way. We still provide that piece, but the family is responsible, like any one of us that are a homeowner, for everything else.
Got it. And so you're going to be making staffing requests to get that program off the ground as part of next year's budget?
I'm requesting staffing for many positions in the department.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks. Councilmember Ledeju and then Gordon.
Thank you for your presentation. So what do you believe the barrier is for our families when we talk about home ownership? Because when we talk about the FSS program, one of the things that you've mentioned is many of our families who come to the FSS program have goals such as finding a job, right? Finding viable employment. And then when we think about our home ownership program, what are some of the barriers that we face when we talk about home ownership? Not just that they're stock, that we have a home available and part of it's budgeting, but what are the other things that we experience when we speak about the HUD home ownership program, moving off of quote-unquote a voucher into your own space?
I can speak on my experience. I can't speak on the Vallejo Housing Authority home ownership program because it's not up and running at this time. But in my experience, one of the barriers is working with financial institutions that are willing to accept the voucher as a source of income to qualify a family. That has been a big barrier, getting families to qualify for home ownership under our voucher program.
So with that in mind, what are some of the things that we need to do as a city when we talk about banking institutions and the very fact that we're paying, from a HUD voucher perspective, 70% of that monthly mortgage? What are some of the things that we need to consider as a city to couple this work with to see success from your experience? One
of the things that the city can do, in my experience, is we can collaborate with our local banks and educate them on the program, and to increase or decrease their hesitance to participate in the program. That has been a challenge for many agencies, but there are some banks out there that's willing to do this particular program.
Okay.
Thanks. Councilmember Gordon.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate your report. I want to make sure I got this right. It's a program that someone can participate for 5 years, and is this the program, the homeowner program?
So the homeownership program it will be designed. You have a certain limitation on how long a family can stay in the home with their voucher with their voucher, the HAP is being paid towards the mortgage. So that can be 10 years, that can be 15 years. There is a cap, and I believe it is 15 years max. After that, during the period of home ownership, it's designed for families to become self-sufficient and sustain enough income so they don't need the voucher.
Absolutely.
So at the end of the term, if the families decide that they no longer want to be a home owner, they have the option to opt out of home ownership and retain their voucher and leave the home ownership program and just take the voucher.
And there's another program, I want to make sure I say it right, because there's a lot of acronyms when you wear this hat now. Is whereas someone enter a program for 5 years, and they're working, and as their income rises, less housing pays, but yet that goes into a bank, and at the end of that 5 years, you match it, and they're able to purchase a home. Is that the one that, 'cause remember I mentioned I wanted to bring that back when I was commissioner?
You are speaking of the FSS program.
Thank you.
So that's the FSS program. Families are, there's a certain timeline that they have 5-year goals, and at the end of their 5-year goals, with the exception they can apply for an extension. Within that 5 years, as they're working to increase their employment and get higher paying jobs, the Housing Authority couples that their increased amount of their rent portion into an escrow account. It sits there, it gains interest, and at the end of the 5 years, the families can have that money to purchase a home, buy a car, whatever it is. It's their money, because it's basically we're holding it for them so that they can meet their ultimate goal. And once they meet it, we'll give them their money.
I've seen that to be very successful through other people that I know who went through this program. Are there any challenges to that? For example, once they do that program, they're not able to be back on Section 8 anymore? Or is that information incorrect?
So FSS and home ownership are two separate
Right.
programs.
I was just
so
asking about the
FSS, they are a participant. They're a current participant on the program, and they just have 5-year goals to achieve whatever those goals are.
Right.
And home ownership is another program that has a term, a maximum amount of time they can be on home ownership, and at the end, they have to decide if they want to stay a homeowner or if they want to just
I was
relinquish
asking about the latter, the one I just asked you about, not about the homeowner, the other one.
the family self-sufficiency.
Yes.
That's only 5 years, and they can get a 2-year extension, and then if they're still on the program, they're not kicked off the program or anything like that. It's just that they fulfilled their goals, and then they can potentially apply for the FSS program again, because I wanted to get my GED, I got my GED, now I would like to re-enroll in the program, because now I want to do this.
I appreciate that, because I actually had that argument with someone, and they just literally told me something totally different, and they are very influential in the community, so that's why I wanted you to say that out loud. Thank you.
Right. Thanks. Seeing no other comments from the council, why don't we go ahead and move to the public hearing? Do we have any commenters that have signed up in person? And
Through
do
the
we have
mayor.
anyone online?
Yes, we do have one person here in person, and then we have an individual online who would like to speak.
All right, let's go ahead and invite the in-person speaker up, and then we'll do the online speaker.
Isobet B, please come up, followed by Francis H online. 1 minute, Isobet. All right, go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. I'd like to draw attention to the Housing Choice Voucher Section 8 placement rate. I believe there is a law in place making discrimination against people on Section 8 illegal, but I suspect is rarely enforced. This council can act to strengthen this law on a municipal basis to ensure that landlords comply. A couple of years ago, I spoke with a landlord who described a stigma amongst his colleagues for accepting Section 8. I believe this still exists. I believe that you can fight this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and call the online speaker.
Francis H, please unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Frances, and I live in the St. Vincent Hill area. I want to say that after the presentation regarding the shortage need of housing in the community that was demonstrated in the last meeting, it looks like we are putting up barriers to new housing being built in the area. And then tonight's meeting about the severe shortage we have in terms of housing in the community. It's pretty much a clear need that we need to increase our housing stock no matter what kind of housing we're building. I don't understand why the city and the council, based on these two things, the severe shortage as well as making it easier to build in the infill areas. I don't understand why the city and the council is not rolling out the red carpet for people who want to build in our area. The barriers to build on an infill lot, based on what I've seen recently, especially in this last March meeting, have made it unnecessarily, I believe it's an unnecessarily high barrier and has added quite a bit in costs to the community. I am a landlord in the community. I am not a developer in any sense. We own 5 units, a fourplex, and then we built an ADU in the back where we have a single mom with 2 kids. We happily rent to a Section 8 voucher participant next door to us. And we always tell any landlords that we've had very good experience with Section 8 tenants. So we're very for the Section 8 housing community. So given all of these factors, I'm not sure why we are putting up any barriers to anybody who is building any housing in Vallejo.
All right, thank you. Any other speakers that have raised their hands?
None at this time, Mayor.
Wonderful. Then we'll go ahead and we'll close the public comment on that item. I really appreciate both of the comments. They both resonated for me, and I've got additional comments from council members Palmares and Letashew, so go ahead.
I believe it's Frances Harkins. Ms. Harkins, if you're hearing me, love to discuss this matter further. You're in my district, so I'd love to hear your ideas and discuss them. So just feel free to email me, charles.palmares@cityofvallejo.net. Thanks.
Great. Thanks for that. And Councilmember Matulik, I see you're online, so go ahead since you haven't spoken yet.
Thank you for that, and thank you for the presentation. The question I had was based for the housing choice voucher. How many, you talk about the wait list there. Can you kind of confirm what is the length of the wait list right now?
Currently, we have approximately 1,962 families on the waiting list of the 2,500 that was originally selected.
And what's the average wait time right now for the families?
So we're actively pulling from the waiting list. So it depends because the waiting list is it's organized by preferences. And so we pull based on preferences. Preferences can be homeless, lease in place, and there's several preferences. So we pull every month, we're pulling and selecting families to determine eligibility. Several families don't qualify because they don't meet the preferences that they identified on their original application. So because of that, they go back onto the waiting list. So, and they have to wait until their name come back up. So to give you an actual waiting list time, I can't tell you a time, but I can tell you in this 1 year, almost to the date, this 1 year since we opened and closed the waiting list, we were able to house 129 families, and the difference between the 2,500 and the 1962 is the number of families that we selected in this last year.
Thank you for that clarification, and thank you for pointing out the fact that there are very. That's okay, and just want to thank you for that clarification, and thank you for clarifying the fact that there are variables involved with how certain individuals are on a wait list for a certain amount of time. So my follow-up question to that is, how many landlords have we lost in the past year for being able to house some of these vouchers?
So I can pull our data to see the number of landlords that decided not to continue to rent to us, but typically that's information that we really don't track. What we do track is how many landlords that we recruit and bring onto the program. What we track is attrition of our participants that leave the program, but we can look to see how many landlords were on the program versus last year versus this year to see how many, what that discrepancy is. That'll tell us how many landlords no longer participating. So I'll be happy to do the research and an analysis and provide that to the board at a later date if that's okay.
No, that would be great. And the purpose behind that question was to have an understanding of if we are in a housing shortage and if we're losing landlords, why are we losing those landlords? they're not meeting certain standards. They choose to leave for whatever reason. I think it'd be a good understanding of why we're losing that. And with that follow-up question is, what are we doing to help recruit landlords to be a part of the program?
So I can answer both questions. So when landlords decide to leave, there's various reasons a landlord would decide to not to participate. It may be a landlord who had one unit with one Section 8, they sold the unit and and the new owner decided not to continue with the program, so the family had to move because they wanted the unit for their personal use. That's one reason a landlord would leave. Another reason would be if the rents aren't comparable enough, meaning if we're not matching what the market is with our voucher amount, then landlords wouldn't want to participate. We haven't had much of that because our actual vouchers are at the amount of the current rents in the Vallejo area. To your second question, as it relates to recruitment of landlords, June of last year, June of 2025, we hosted our landlord symposium. And at this time, in our annual plan here, we anticipate to host 2 more landlord educational sessions, is what I call them, to invite new landlords, existing landlords, or any landlord that has expressed interest in the program to attend to learn more about the program and all the services that we provide and the community that we're helping. We have that we're actually in the development stages. It's interesting enough, we had our first kickoff meeting last week regarding it. When I say we,
Thank you for that clarification. Thank you. And I think the reason I asked the question of why landlords are leaving, I think that helps from both the understanding from a tenant standpoint and from a landlord standpoint of why certain factors are leading to some of the housing shortages. And if there's a way and to help the general public to understand where a lot of this is coming from, and to help identify how do we fix some of these voids or where we need to improve in certain areas. So thank you for that clarification. And thank you for those answers. So that'd be the end of my questions.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. I've got Councilmember Letajou and then Councilmember Gordon.
So Director Jones, can we make a consideration for changing homelessness to a person experiencing homelessness or an unhoused person in our housing plan? And I'm not sure from a HUD perspective if that's allowable, but if possible, you don't need to opine on it right now. Yeah. You may need to research, but if possible, could we consider that?
I can say that the language that we use is the same language that HUD uses, because different cities, jurisdictions uses different ways to identify and categorize. So HUD has one basic language, and so we just adopt the same language so there won't be any disparity. Sorry.
Thanks. All right, Councilmember Gordon, and then we'll hopefully be able to move to a vote.
Thank you, Director Jones. I wanted to ask you a question. I think we kind of touched on this a little bit. Do you have a database of how many individuals have lost their vouchers because they couldn't find housing?
So yes, we have a database, but to answer your question, there are various reasons why a family would lose their voucher. And it's called an EOP, end of participation, because the voucher expired, meaning families are given 4 months initially to find a unit. And we offer extensions to a maximum of 6 months, which is 180 days to find a unit. If a family do not find a unit in that time period, then they lose the voucher. Also, they lose the voucher for other reasons, but as far as data to identify who lost their voucher because they couldn't find a unit, we don't track that because we just track they didn't identify a unit within this period. The reason is not provided to us because we assume they didn't find a unit because they didn't qualify, because sometimes it's a barrier. Credit, background checks that are meeting the owner's criteria for their unit. Families don't qualify, so they may not get the unit, and that could impact the number of days they have on their voucher, especially if they find a unit at the last few days or few weeks of the voucher. If they don't look, I encouraged our participants to look for a unit immediately, and our leasing rate at this time for families to find a unit, they're finding a unit within 2.5 months, meaning about 60 to 75 days from the time they get their voucher, they're pretty much finding the unit. And that number, I'm thinking off our 2-year tool, I believe, I can't quote it, but I believe it's like a 30%, 32% of a family's finding a unit within that time period. I can double check because I'm looking at numbers all day, so I'm sorry.
I respect that. No, if I can get both of that would be great. If I can see that in your next reporting, how many individuals have actually lost their vouchers regardless of the reasons, if that would be, I would appreciate that, if that's possible.
We have a 3% EOP rate, meaning 3% of the families that we issue a voucher to, and they have a voucher, they lose their voucher, 3% of the total number.
Well, thank you. I just wanted it on papers.
I can get
Yeah,
it.
and I appreciate that. And I heard you say something about, let me see, landowners. Well, no, my colleague asked about that last question for the landowners. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you all for the discussion. And I've made a note of the request from the speaker to look into the laws we have on the books protecting people on Section 8 from discrimination. And I know we've had a couple of other requests from the City Council to look at broader tenant protections. And I think we should definitely look into folding that into that discussion. So I appreciate the comment. And I think we're ready for a motion on this item. Oh, okay. Councilmember Letters, you asked one last question.
So just to your point about, it's like about a 32% success rate within that first 72 days.
75.
Do we have a housing search coordinator?
No, we do not.
Okay.
So what we
And what's important about a housing search coordinator?
So it's important to have a housing search coordinator, which we call them a navigator, because they help families. They go out into the community. They partner with different landlords, different properties, projects that have large units, and they tell them about the program, and they build their relationship to encourage them to participate. And so the housing coordinator or housing navigator will have a particular portfolio of families looking for housing. They will go help them. We'll look for secure housing, and it oftentimes, in my experience, that has been very beneficial because the landlords feel there's a level of oversight, assistance to help families into the unit and also retain the unit and take care of the unit and become long-term tenants.
And so as you talk about your outreach program, I think you have offered incentives to landlords as well?
Yes, ma'am. We actually, I'm sorry. Yes, Congresswoman, I'm sorry. Councilwoman, I said Congress. I'm putting you up there. So yes, we currently offer landlord incentives for new landlords that's willing to come onto our program. We offer an incentive, and we offer an incentive for existing landlords who bring additional units onto the program. We included that in our housing symposium. That's where we introduced it at that time so that we can encourage participation. And we also we track that for those new landlords that participate. If they're bringing a new unit, we track that as well. Yes, ma'am.
All right, thanks. I think we're now ready for a motion on the item.
Okay, I move that we adopt a resolution approving the Vallejo Housing Authority's 5-year public housing agency plan for fiscal year 25 through 29 for the period covering July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2029, and authorize the executive director to submit to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Office of Public and Indian Housing.
Great, and we're going to do a roll call vote.
Vice Chair Bergenzer,
Yes.
Board Members Gordon,
Yes.
Letters,
Yes.
Matias,
Yes.
Machulak,
Aye.
Palmeris,
Aye.
and Chair Source.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right, thank you so much. With that, our meeting is now adjourned, and we will proceed to our regular city council meeting. Thank you, Ms. Jones, Director Jones, and thank you to everyone for your patience in the audience. I know many of you are here for the council meeting.
Drive home safe.
Does anyone need just a minute? Oh, yes, we need a minute to just switch over.